Imagine a single decision that fractures reality itself. One turn of an hourglass, one brilliant witch who believes death can be cheated, one choice that will cost more than anyone imagined. Hermione Granger breaks the most fundamental law of magic, and someone will pay the price. The night Cedric Diggory dies, Hermione refuses to accept it. She doesn't console Harry through his grief. She doesn't wait for adults to fix what's broken. In the hours following the third task, while the Ministry scrambles and Harry lies sedated, Hermione retreats to her dormitory. The Time Turner, officially surrendered but secretly kept for emergencies, burns cold against her chest. The mathematics are simple. Cedric died 4 hours ago. The Time Turner's maximum is 5 hours. She has the capability. She has the knowledge. She has the moral certainty that a 17-year-old boy deserves to live. What she doesn't have is understanding of the true cost. Hermione turns the hourglass 6 times. Reality screams. She materializes in the maze 30 minutes before the third task concludes. The hedges tower around her, malevolent and shifting. Somewhere in this labyrinth, Cedric Diggory and Harry Potter race toward the portkey that will transport them to death. Canon Hermione followed the rules religiously. She stayed hidden. She changed nothing that wasn't meant to change. This Hermione has no such constraints. She knows exactly where the cup sits. She knows the fastest route. She runs. The maze fights back. A blast-ended Scroot emerges, but Hermione doesn't hesitate. Impedimenta! Incendio! The creature falls. She reaches the clearing just as Harry and Cedric arrive from opposite passages. "Stop!" Her voice cuts through the night. "Don't touch the cup!" Both stare at her in complete confusion. "It's a portkey," she gasps. "Barty Crouch Jr. turned it into a portkey. It takes you to a graveyard where Voldemort is waiting. Cedric dies, Harry. You both touch it and Cedric dies." Harry's scar explodes with pain. Through the connection, he feels Voldemort's rage at the timeline shifting. "She's telling the truth," Harry gasps. "I can feel him. He's waiting." Cedric looks between them, breathing hard. Then his jaw sets. "Then we destroy it, together." 3 wands, 3 voices. "Reducto!" The cup explodes in a shower of sparks. In a graveyard miles away, Peter Pettigrew waits beside a cauldron that will never receive its ingredient. Voldemort remains a twisted half-life, screaming in fury. The magical backlash triggers emergency protocols. Flares shoot into the sky. Within minutes, Dumbledore and officials swarm the clearing. Hermione Granger is arrested before the cheering stops, but as they lead her away, no one notices the thin crack forming in reality where the cup was destroyed. No one sees time beginning to bleed. The Wizengot courtroom has never felt more hostile. Hermione stands in magical chains while the entire government of magical Britain stares down at her. Cornelius Fudge's face is purple with rage. "Do you understand the magnitude of what you've done? Time turners are regulated by 700 international statutes. Their use is forbidden for precisely this reason." "I saved Cedric Diggory's life," Hermione said steadily. "I prevented Voldemort's return. I stopped a murder." "You violated the Temporal Displacement Act of 1899. You created a paradox." "There is no paradox. Cedric is alive, Harry is alive, Voldemort remains disembodied. The only difference is that fewer people died." Dumbledore speaks, his voice carrying infinite weariness. "Miss Granger, you fundamentally altered causality. Every prophecy, every prediction, all rendered meaningless." "Prophecies are not destiny," Hermione said coldly. "You taught me to think critically, Professor, and when I applied that to the idea of letting a boy die for no reason except that's what was supposed to happen, I found it morally bankrupt." The courtroom erupts. The vote is devastating. 43 for imprisonment, 7 for acquittal. But before Fudge can pronounce sentence, Cedric Diggory stands. "I invoke the right of life debt." The courtroom freezes. The right of life debt is ancient magic, predating the ministry itself. When one wizard saves another from certain death, the saved party may claim a single request, no matter how unreasonable. "I claim life debt protection," Cedric says clearly. "Release her, or face magical consequences your laws cannot prevent." Ancient magic activates. Golden light surrounds them both. The chains crack and fall. Amelia Bones closes her eyes. The right is invoked. "Miss Granger, you are free." But the moment the chains fall, something breaks in the fabric of reality. 2 weeks later, the first anomaly appears. Harry wakes screaming, not from nightmares, from emptiness. Memories vanish from his mind like sand through fingers. He remembers the third task, remembers running through the maze, remembers. Who else was there? Was there someone? "Hermione," he whispers when she finds him in the hospital wing. "I'm forgetting people. Entire people are just disappearing from my memory." The Department of Mysteries convenes an emergency session when the problem spreads. Across Britain, people begin to forget, not events, not places, people. Molly Weasley cries in the Burrows' kitchen, unable to remember how many children she has. She knows there are 7, she's certain, but she can only name 6. Arthur finds a family photograph with a blank space, a space where someone clearly stood, but the image is blurred, erased. Croaker, head of the time chamber, explains to Hermione with absolute horror on his face. Time isn't simply a sequence of events, it's a structure of relationships. When you saved Cedric Diggory, you removed a node of causality from the original timeline. "I don't understand," Hermione whispers. Cedric Diggory was meant to die. His death was an anchor point for hundreds of other causal connections. By saving him, you destroyed all the chains that depended on that event, and reality corrects the imbalance the only way it can, by erasing what should no longer exist. Hermione shakes her head. "No, I saved a life. I didn't—" "You created a temporal debt," Croaker interrupts. "A life for a life. It's a fundamental law of magical reality. Cedric Diggory is alive because you intervened, but that created a deficit in the cosmic balance, and that deficit must be paid." Paid with what? Another life, of equivalent value. Someone whose existence was just as important to the timeline as Cedric's death. Hermione feels the world crumbling. Who? Croaker looks at her with infinite sadness. "We don't know, Miss Granger. The timeline chooses, but someone is being erased from existence, not killed, but completely removed from reality, as if they never were." The horror intensifies over the following weeks. Neville visits St. Mungo's to see his parents, but the nurses look confused. "We have no records of your parents at this hospital, Mr. Longbottom." "They're here. Alice and Frank Longbottom, permanent spell damage ward." "Sir, according to our records, your parents died in 1981, in battle against Deet Eaters." Neville stands frozen as memories rewrite themselves. Hospital visits, his mother's empty gaze, all of it vanishes, replaced by funerals and gravestones. Reality rewrites itself, and no one can stop it. Dumbledore comes to Hermione late one night. "Miss Granger, I need you to think carefully. Besides Cedric, who else was in that clearing when you intervened?" Hermione blinks. "Harry, Cedric, me. No one else." "Are you certain?" "Absolutely. There was only—" She stops. Something shifts in her memory. Another champion? But the Triwizard Tournament had only 3 champions, didn't it? "Professor, how many champions were in the tournament?" Dumbledore's expression becomes unbearably sad. 3. Cedric Diggory from Hogwarts, Victor Crumb from Durmstrand, Fleur Delacour from Beauxbaton. Fleur Delacour. The name sounds familiar, but also not quite. Hermione tries to grasp the memories, but they slip away like smoke. Silver hair? Avila? Or is she imagining it? "Where is she now?" Hermione asks, cold dread gripping her. Dumbledore looks at her for a long moment. "Who, Miss Granger?" And Hermione understands, fully and terribly. Fleur Delacour is being erased, not dying, simply ceasing to have ever existed. Every memory disappears, every photograph blurs, every record rewrites itself. Her parents forget they had a daughter. Her sister becomes an only child. The timeline rebalances. A life for a life. Cedric Diggory lives because Fleur Delacour never existed. Hermione tries to remember her, clings to fading fragments, silver hair, French accent, proud gaze. But the more she tries, the faster they vanish. Within a week, she can no longer recall the name, just a vague sense that someone important was lost. Within 2 weeks, even that disappears. The timeline stabilizes, the anomalies cease, the world continues as if nothing changed. But Hermione knows, somewhere deep in a part of her mind temporal magic cannot fully erase. She knows she paid a terrible price. She saved one life by destroying another. The Department of Mysteries declares the crisis resolved. Fudge makes public statements about Time Turner dangers. The Wizengamot passes stricter regulations. Life returns to normal, except for Hermione. She watches Cedric laugh with friends in the Great Hall, watches him study in the library, watches him live the life she gave him, and she thinks about the girl with no face, no name, no existence. The girl who paid for Hermione's hubris. Late one night, Cedric finds Hermione in the library, staring at blank parchment. "Can't sleep?" Hermione looks at him, at the young man alive because she broke the rules, alive and whole, with a future stretching before him. And she thinks of the girl no one remembers, the girl who laughed, loved, dreamed, and was erased to balance the equation. "Cedric," she says quietly, "if I told you that your life cost someone else's, that someone was erased from reality so you could live, how would you feel?" He blinks, confused. I don't understand." Of course he doesn't. His memories were rewritten with everyone else's. Only Hermione carries the knowledge of what she did, of the price paid by someone who wasn't her. "Nothing," she whispers, just thinking aloud. Cedric smiles and leaves. Hermione sits in darkness, and thinks of the faceless girl whose name she can no longer remember. Days turn to weeks, weeks to months. The guilt doesn't fade. It settles into her bones, a permanent weight. She excels in studies, graduates with honors, becomes everything people expected. But late at night, alone, she feels the absence, the void where a person should be, the echo of existence that was unmade. She never uses time magic again, never experiments with causality, never tries to fix anything, because she learned the terrible truth canon Hermione never faced. Some prices are too high, even for the best intentions. Some costs cannot be justified, no matter how noble the cause. Some choices echo through eternity, erasing not just lives, but the very memory of lives. The final answer to what if Hermione saved Cedric with the time turner. She saved him. Cedric Diggory lives, breathes, exists, but the price was paid in someone else's existence. Somewhere in France, parents wake feeling something is wrong, that someone is missing, but cannot remember who. Somewhere in Beauxbatons, there's an empty seat that never was filled, because the person who should have sat there was never born. And Hermione Granger carries the knowledge of her crime alone. She didn't kill Fleur Delacour. Something worse. She erased her from existence, from history, from every memory. And worst of all, no one will ever mourn someone they don't remember. This is what happens when mortals play at being gods. This is the true cost of breaking time. Not punishment, not justice, oblivion. Time always takes its due, always, and it doesn't care who pays the bill.